All right, people. So our first review of the day is going to be for the film Black Bag. Black Bag is the second Steven Soderbergh film this year. He had another movie come out called Presence earlier in the year, which I like quite a bit. It's one of my early favorite movies of the year. Steven Soderbergh, very a director that has a lot of variety in his catalog:
Mhm.
spy films, action films, heist films, horror films. He does a lot of variety of different things there. Here, this is a spy thriller film here, completely opposite of what he had come out last year with Presence, which was a horror thriller. And this is starring Cate Blanchett and Michael Fassbender here. And then in this film here, it deals with a married couple who are Cate Blanchett and Michael Fassbender. They play Catherine and George. They work at a British spy intelligence agency there. And then it gets reported to George there that his wife may or may not be a traitor to the nation. He has to investigate her and kind of figure out, really, is she the one betraying the nation? So it kind of leads to this whole kind of investigation here. Who really is the traitor? Who is this mole? Who is really behind these events there? And there's like a MacGuffin in the movie. The MacGuffin is called Severance, is the thing there.
Mhm.
This possible thing. It's just really, I mean, it's just a typical spy movie MacGuffin that's in here. Really, the main kind of
Yeah.
juiciness of the story, the meat of the story, is the marriage between these two people and the fact that they work at the spy agency, and of course doing what spies do, lying, deceiving for a living. It's like, how do you live together? How do you even have a functional relationship when that is your main occupation? Um, and then they also have these friends here as well, who they kind of have these almost friends slash suspects, who they also, he has to kind of narrow it down between who is possibly the person that's doing this. And the thing about what's established in this movie is that Michael Fassbender's character George is an elite person at telling who is a liar and who isn't. He has a
Mhm.
almost mutant level ability to tell, who is and who isn't lying. So that's also an added thing to there. So yeah, and as you can see in the film right here, Michael Fassbender, he just borrowed his wardrobe from his Steve Jobs film, because he mostly just wears turtlenecks, black turtlenecks. So he just mostly just stole the wardrobe from that film. So yeah, uh, Dusk. What are your thoughts on Black Bag?
Yeah, this movie is interesting because it takes place over a single week, and the main character, played by Fassbender, is basically told by his boss, "We have a leak of information. You got a week to figure it out. You got four suspects. One of them's your wife. Is that going to be a problem?" And he's just like, a little bit. Too bad. You got to do your job." He's like, "Okay, I'll do it." And so he goes into trying to figure out who's who. And in typical thriller, action thriller, I mean, I even hesitate to even say action. This is more just a spy thriller of
Mhm.
going and figuring out trying to investigate different individuals, find out their secrets, and really it comes down to this. It None of that doesn't really matter, if I'm going to be
Mhm.
perfectly honest, in this movie. It's there, that's the plot, but really it just
Mhm.
comes down to Michael Fassbender and his wife, played by Kate Blanchett, Catherine. That's really what this movie is. Everything else is kind of a dress up.
Mhm.
Really, it's a question of uh, you're a spy and you do your things, but there's a question that's brought up pretty heavy handed in the middle of it. That pretty much is the ethos of the movie. Do you Asked by Catherine, by another character, do you prioritize do you take priority your career or your husband, which is more important? And you never really get the answer. And that leaves you kind of in suspense. But that's ultimately the question. Does he matter more, and vice versa? Does she matter more than what you got to do? And that's basically the movie, really. Because if I'm going to be perfectly honest, the movie tries to do its best. The trailers try to do its best to say like a lot of things is happening, and oh man, there's going to go a lot of stuff is going to happen. Not much really happens.
Mhm.
Uh, it's it's a lot of spinning plates, illusion, smoke and mirrors. Oh, we did all this, and not really. I mean, week happens, passes by, something gets stopped. or doesn't, and then that's the end of the movie. So it's kind of very interesting that they kind of try to make it a little more exciting. I mean, I don't begrudge them because
Mhm.
otherwise, this movie's very very tepid, very careful, very slow. Yeah, mostly just Michael Fassbender in his cosplay, just walking around as Steve Jobs, spying on people, looking at people, on a cool, calm, and collected. Don't lie to me. That's a great show, by the way. Uh, and that's really most of the movie. And then you get scenes with Cate Blanchett, and they're back and seeing their perspectives, but mostly it's from his, and really that's just kind of the whole front of the movie.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, this is not a spy movie, like a Bond film
Yeah,
or
this is Tinker
Lawrence.
Yeah,
Taylor
that
Soldier Spy level.
yeah
This is
that
that kind of stuff.
yeah that's what I'm getting from a lot of this conversation. Uh, it's less something like a Maltese Falcon. It's more closer in tone and structure to Tinker Tailor Soldier
Yeah,
Spy.
and
Yeah.
with the added twist that they try to add a little bit more humanity by making it focus on the relationship of a married couple.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, the action is in the dialogue in it, and this is written by David Koepp, who again is
Yeah.
reuniting with Steven Soderbergh. He's done
Mhm.
a number of
Mhm.
other Steven Soderbergh movies there. Also, he just wrote another Steven Soderbergh movie which came out this year, Presence. He wrote that
Mhm.
there for that, and he also did Kimmy as well there, which was another Soderbergh film. So he's a frequent collaborator with Steven Soderbergh. So yeah, a lot of the action is in the dialogue in it of these people kind of going back and forth of the investigation of them constantly questioning each other. The most intense part of this movie is probably a lie detector scene here
Yeah.
where
Mhm.
Michael Fassbender is asking people these questions and then trying to get to the root of who did this. Like, Dust said, so the movie takes place over the course of a week. So, it's like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So it's, these title cards come up to let you know how close, the week is coming to ending. So that's really what you got here. And for me, I mean, I don't think I saw Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. I know for
Mhm.
a lot of people, they were like, okay, this is boring as hell. This is like ridiculously
it,
so.
it is it is a for as celebrated as that movie is, and for the cast that it has,
Yeah.
it is insane that it is as dry and dull as it is.
And for me, I mean, so I can't really compare because I never saw that movie.
Mhm.
Whether if you know what I mean, if you're a person who wasn't really that entertained by that, will you be entertained by
Mhm.
this? Because that movie was over 2 hours long, I believe.
Oh,
It
Yeah,
was, and unfortunately, an over 2 hours long for the amount of what's happening in it.
yeah. Here it's an hour and 40 something minutes, so it's not that long. It's
okay.
not, and it doesn't feel like a slog to get through.
No, that's the good thing about it. The pacing is pretty
Mhm.
solid.
Yeah.
How would you say the dialogue is? Because that's one of the issues I had with David Koepp's last script with Steven
Mhm.
Soderbergh with Presence. Because for as great as
Mhm.
the more older characters in that movie, Lucy Liu and her husband, as great as the dialogue I felt between them, whenever it focused on the younger actors, I felt that there was a noticeable drop in quality.
Hmm. I didn't really feel that with this. I think
Mhm.
here, I think it's really handled very well. Again, I mean, you got really a lot of great actors in this. We talked about a lot about Michael Fassbender and Kate
Mhm.
Blanchett, but outside of them, you have Tom Burke in this. Who
Mhm.
people might know, he played Orson Welles in Mank.
Hmm.
Did that. He was also the Mad Max character that wasn't Mad Max in Furioso. He was that character. So you have him. You also have Naomi Harris in this as well, who, hey, she was also in a Bond movie. Hey, you got her. She was in a Bond movie. You got Pierce Brosnan. You got Bond himself in here, who also does a really great job. You got Reggie John Page in this, who people might know from the Dungeons and Dragons film. He was also in Bridgerton as well, so he's in this film. He's pretty good. But yeah, and then you also have the actress who played Amy Winehouse in the Amy
Oh
Winehouse.
yeah, Martha Bela, who I didn't like that
Mhm.
Amy Winehouse movie, but I'm seeing her more and more in this, and she was also in last season of HBO's Industry.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Besides Cate Blanchett and Michael Fassbender and maybe Pierce Brosnan. I think she's one of the better people in this movie.
Yeah.
Everybody's good, but she really stands out amongst this veteran cast. What do you say about
No, I agree. I agree with a lot of it. A lot of it. We actually don't get to see Pierce Brosnan too much, but he very much has the energy he's kind of given to a lot of later roles. Specifically, this one reminds me a lot of a mostly forgotten film called The Foreigner that he did with Jackie
Hmm.
Chan.
I see that. I can see that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it did remind me a lot of that too. Yeah, very because he's the boss basically of all these people working at this intelligence agency
Mm.
there. And he's really good there, and his motives come out throughout the movie as well. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not as long as something like there. I mean, depends on what your attention span is,
Mhm.
and how much you can sit through this. Because I said it's not your typical, spy action
Mhm.
type film like that. It's not going to be something like that. This is more cerebral. This is more,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Asking questions and doing
Mhm.
investigation and doing a lot of work like that. It's still sexy in its way. I mean, I think you still got Michael Fassbender and Cate Blanchett who bring that sexiness to a spy movie. Cate Blanchett, especially, like this is another movie where her wardrobe is fantastic. Like it's like when she was in Ocean's 8, like everything she wore is like, where did she get that? Like that is incredible. So that you also have that kind of going on with this. Um, but yeah, I mean, you can't wait to see like who's going to be found out. I think the movie keeps you interested in that mystery. The MacGuffin in and of itself, I wasn't really that interested in.
Mhm.
That's not very interesting. But just like I said, Michael Fassbender, him doing his investigation is really interesting, leading to that. Michael Fassbender, I mean, he's great at playing psychos. I mean, he's very good at
Hmm.
playing sociopaths. He did a great job of that when he was in the Alien movies, Prometheus, and those type of films. He did a great job of it in that other movie, The Killer.
Mhm.
He's got a good knack for it. He speaks at one tone throughout the whole movie. Basically, he doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't do anything. Like he just kind of speaks at that one specific tone. And I mean, he's able to kind of do it. Like you say, he's putting on his best Steve Jobs again for something like this. Hell, he played that was another Psycho. Yeah, Steve
Oh
Jobs.
hell yeah!
There you go. So that was another Psycho. So for me, I would give the movie. I would give it a good strong tune in for me.
Mhm.
I'd give it a good strong. What about you, Des?
Yeah, that's kind of where I end up falling in with it. This movie has a lot of good acting in it. Its dialogue is fairly strong. The unfortunate part is, yeah, the MacGuffin isn't that much more interesting. It's more just
Mhm.
window dressing to the overall story and the topic. And I wished that it meant a little bit more. We had a little bit more of a worry, because when you realize what's actually happening and what the stakes are, it's a lot more interesting and could have like elevated it to a much more intense situation. But we really never truly get the sense. It just is a lot of implications
Mhm.
because it lowers it to such a realistic, semi-realistic downturn to just all these like almost like a bottleneck movie where they're going to different places, but it really is only focusing on these certain characters that are involved. We really don't get to see the higher stakes.
Mhm.
Because of that, though, I would say because there's more humanity focus in it and because of the performances, I would definitely say this is just a solid tune in. A lot of the issues, I think, with Presence, the movie he did earlier this year, while good in its own right, is
Mhm.
very different and was very clearly trying to be more experimental.
Mhm.
And that I understand, and that has its own stuff. But this one feels a lot more kind of like pulled back, a lot more structured, a lot more.
Mhm.
This is what I intend to do, and I want to give it more, but I just can't because there are just parts of it that could have been improved upon. But
Mhm.
overall, it's a solid movie.
Yeah,
Definitely solid.
even a director like Steven Soderbergh, even when he's like, this is kind of sounding like this was like a this and Presence is kind of a case of a one for me, one for them. And even when
Hmm.
Soderbergh is like not in his bag, he still makes a movie that is fascinating and interesting to discuss.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair approach to it because, as we said, even the fact that there are things that I think that could
Mhm.
be improved doesn't stop it from getting great performances out of everybody, and having a really good back and forth with his writer, and to make the dialogue feel very much in tone of what you want to happen. So, yeah, very much so.
Mm, yeah. So 2 strong tune-ins for Steven Soderbergh's Black Bag.